Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Calgary Emergency Management Agency's update on the 16th Avenue critical water main break. We're here in the Emergency Operations Centre, and joining us today are Mayor Jyoti Gondek, Calgary Emergency Management Agency Chief Sue Henry, Infrastructure Services General Manager Michael Thompson, and Capital Priorities and Investment Director Francois Bouchard. We'll hear their updates. Afterwards, we'll take your questions. Please limit yourself to one question and a follow-up. And with that, I will welcome Mayor Gondek to the podium. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Sherry. Oki, Dadanastada, Umbawastich, Tanse, and good afternoon, everyone. We have some great news to share with you today. Repair work on the hotspots along the feeder main, along the main pipeline is complete. And crews have started backfilling those construction sites today. So to be clear, the repair work is done and we are now backfilling those sites. Paving the sections of 16th Avenue that were ripped up, that paving work is also going to begin very soon, along with site cleanup. This is another important milestone in the water main repair work, and I'd like to thank the crews, both from the city and from our private sector partners who've been working around the clock for weeks to get this work done. Next, the city's water team is going to begin a four-step process. This will involve filling the pipe, flushing the pipe, it will be testing the water and then getting to a place of stability. If all of this goes well, the work of returning the city's water system to regular service could be done sooner than we expected. But we're not quite at that point yet. And to borrow a hockey cliche, because it seems so timely, we need to play the full 60 minutes. And right now, we're in the last 5 minutes of Game 7. And as you saw last night, neither team let up. There was no taking for granted the lead, and no one was letting up on trying to get back to a tie. There's too much on the line for everyone, and no one let up at all. And that's what's before us right now. There's too much on the line to let up. We can't give up on our water-saving efforts before the city's water system is returned to regular capacity. And let me tell you what's on the line. It's not only water for life-saving efforts in hospitals or in firefighting, it's also to ensure that all of us have water coming to our homes. Those are the things that are the stakes right now. We have to keep our efforts on that final buzzer. And how will you know when that final buzzer sounds? Let me tell you. You'll know because of the updates that we will bring you twice daily. Every day while the feeder main is being filled, flushed, tested, and stabilized, I'll continue to update you at 8:30 in the morning on the live stream to let you know about the progress on that work. And then the full team will be here at 2 p.m. at the Emergency Operations Center each day to let you know how everything is going. And when we start easing away from indoor water use reductions, as well as outdoor water restrictions, you will hear about it. You will also be advised when the fire department is ready to lift its fire ban. Again, you'll hear those updates every day here at the Emergency Operations Center at 2 p.m. and at 8:30 every morning on my live stream. Now, yesterday's use was the highest that we've seen in 10 days. There was 476 million liters of treated water used yesterday citywide. And if this was a one-day blip, I might not be so concerned, but this is again the trend of creeping upwards in our water usage, and it's not a trend that any of us want to see. But being past the halfway point in this water saga, I know that all of you are aware of what we need to do to save water, the actions that we all need to take. And unless you've been hibernating or out of the country without Wi-Fi for the last few weeks, we've all heard the tips that you can use to make sure you're cutting down on your water use. I'm now going to turn things over to SEMA Chief Sue Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us again today. We really appreciate Calgarians' ongoing commitment to conserving water. I know this has been tough on all of you, but I'm really seeing that it has brought our creativity around water conservation to light. One story we heard was a family event that occurred over the weekend where all people were encouraged to take home the leftover cooler ice as a parting gift to use to water their gardens. As the Mayor mentioned, repair work at the site continues to progress as planned. The final aspects of pipe repair will be complete today, and we're now entering into a critical phase of the water restoration. We're not out of the woods yet, and this is where we're going to need your patience and your continued help to keep our usage low. You will see less workers at the construction site now that the repairs underground have been completed. To some people, this is going to feel like the work is over, when in fact, it is a sign that we're able to move to the next stage and work in different locations to continue to restore service. We will be with this process every step of the way and share updates with you every day. When this started, no one knew how much we would come to learn and how much we would appreciate about our water supply and infrastructure. You will have all of the information and becomes available about the incredible work that is being done in and around the pipe. This is staying our top priority, and our Emergency Operations Center is still open and will stay that way to help manage any risks and contingencies. Keep up your innovative water-saving tips. Share them with your friends and family because we still need to keep going. We are not done yet, but we are in it together, and I know we can keep doing what we need to do as we enter this next phase. General Manager Michael Thompson and Director Francois Bouchard will be here to speak more about the risks involved as we move into this next phase of work. For our non-potable water distribution, we know that Calgarians are using this water, and it's proving to be very popular, with over 1 million liters of water distributed across the 6 sites. We are hearing from many of you who are getting out to pick up some river water to make sure that your garden is getting some well-deserved attention. The Ogden boat launch has been the most popular site for commercial water distribution, while the Baker Park boat launch has been the most popular site for residential water pickups. In addition to the 6 sites that are already in place, tomorrow we are adding a 7th location at the Bankside Day Use Area in Fish Creek Park. This location will be for both commercial and residential non-potable water distribution purposes, so you can come fill up a container with some river water to take home and put on your garden. Starting tomorrow, we are also shifting the hours of the residential locations to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to better serve Calgarians that we've heard from who need that extra hour in the evening. The fill stations for commercial vehicles will remain 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Another way that people are supporting their communities is neighbors looking out for one another's, especially those seniors who can't lift a large volume of water or somebody that doesn't have access to a vehicle. So anyone can be a water angel. We love hearing these kind of stories. Check in on your neighbors, see if they need any extra help. And please remember to visit calgary.ca for our safety reminders. And remember that this is river water that is not safe for consumption. I also want to stress that we are seeing some rain in the forecast in the coming days, so we will get some much needed help from Mother Nature to help out our yards and our gardens. Speaking of non-potable water, I wanted to let you know that yesterday we resumed nighttime street sweeping services. Water is required during street sweeping to help us reduce the dust buildup, clean the sweeping equipment, and help with material pickup. Of course, to ensure that we do not affect the city's limited potable water supply, we are using non-potable water for this important service. This is not treated water and does not impact our overall water usage for the city. The community street sweeping for all communities is expected to resume on July 8th if everything continues to go properly through this repair. We have heard some concerns over the last few days about why we're allowing Stampede to move forward, given the state of restrictions here. The Stampede is a huge impact to our economy, our community spirit, and our tourism. Many businesses and industries rely on the Stampede as a critical event for survival and employment. As we've said before, we are aiming for the earliest possible restoration of service in our original timeline of 3 to 5 weeks, which means we could be getting back into service in time for the start of Stampede. However, we do know that there are risks as we enter into this transition phase and putting the feeder main back into service. As such, we have been working very closely with our partners at the Calgary Stampede on how they can use the most minimal amount of water possible. And they're doing some very innovative things to ensure that they don't use a drop more than necessary. They will be using non-potable water for many things on the grounds and transporting treated water to the Stampede Park for others. We've been working with them as a partner to offer our assistance to try and make sure that Calgary's signature event can go on. We've also been informing visitors to our city about what's happening and letting them know that while they are here, they are one of us and they need to live like a local. The hotels, Tourism Calgary, and other industry partners have been helping us get the message out into hotels to ensure that visitors are well aware of the water crisis, the restrictions, and the measures that we are asking them to take to conserve water. Also of note, when we talk about the usage that occurs during the Calgary Stampede, it's actually more tied to the weather. So when we see the hot weather happening, we see the increase in usage, not necessarily tied to the Stampede. Additionally, July can be very hot and bring thunderstorms and rain for us, and that typically eases the demand that we need. We are committed to continuing the greatest outdoor show on earth while limiting the impact to our city's water supply for both residents and visitors. For our bylaw numbers today, for those people not complying with our water and fire restrictions, our bylaw officers are still out in the community issuing warnings and violation tickets. Officers have had 2,741 misuse calls since June the 6th. They've issued 835 verbal warnings and 17 violation tickets. For our fire bans, we've had a total of 224 calls for service that have resulted in 24 written warnings, 85 verbal warnings, and 5 violation tickets. Our 311 team has now taken 9,435 calls related to the water event, answering citizen questions and addressing concerns. Thank you again for your patience and understanding. Every small action you make makes a difference, and every drop that you save counts. We are continue to be committed to restoring our city water supply as quickly and as safely as possible, and we are doing what we can to help you in the meantime. I will now pass over to General Manager Michael Thompson to provide more details about what's next for the Feederman repair.
Good afternoon. I'd like to start by providing you with an update on the feeder main repair. Construction activities are progressing as planned. Crews completed welding on new sections of replacement pipe last night, and the final pipe repair activities were being completed this morning. Backfilling of the holes that we dug started this morning, and we will be working to have this completed tomorrow. Once we have the holes backfilled, we will start repaving the locations on 16th Avenue Northwest where the repairs took place as quickly and safely as possible. I wanted to thank all crews and staff who have been focused on moving quickly and safely during this repair work. While we're pleased with the repair progress in the 5 hotspot locations, during the process we've learned a lot about the condition of this pipe. These repairs are emergency in nature, and we know this pipe requires a medium and longer term rehabilitation plan. We've started the work to understand what that plan looks like, and we'll have more information available in the coming months. It's important to note that as you see the work above ground nearing completion and fewer crews and pieces of equipment in the area, there's more work required to ease water restrictions. As I mentioned yesterday, we're entering a critical phase of the repair and return to service. When the original pipe break happened on June 5th, it created a substantial depressurization to the pipe and shocked the system. Due to this shock to the system, we know there's a risk that we will find other issues in the pipe as we start to repressurize it. We are managing the risk by filling the pipe slowly and carefully and slowly bringing it up to pressure. We will be using acoustic monitors to listen for indication of further breaks, as well as sensors that will detect pressure spikes. Our concern is that something will break as we begin to bring this pipe back into service. We've developed contingency plans should we encounter additional issues, and we are prepared to respond rapidly. Due to the critical nature of this feeder main, it's important for us to slowly return the pipe to service. And we're going to do this slowly and cautiously due to the risk of further breaks. Director Bouchard will run over the details of the restoring water service process that we have put in place. As you'll notice from the timelines we share today, if things go according to schedule, we could be done earlier than expected, but there is still a significant amount of risk in this phase. We're committed to bringing you along on this journey, and daily updates are more important than ever as we strive towards easing indoor water saving measures. I would now like to welcome Director Bouchard to provide an update on the steps required to restore water service.
Thank you and good afternoon. As General Manager Thompson just shared, completing the repair is a very important stage, but not the end of our journey. We still have several critical steps to restore the water to the system and make sure the water quality meets or exceeds all regulatory standards and is clean and safe to drink. Our system has just undergone a major shock. To restore service to the feeder main and stabilize our system, we need to move carefully. We have 4 steps: filling the feeder main, flushing the feeder main, testing the water, and then stabilizing the system. This is delicate work. Each one of these steps carries risk, and it's likely that we could have some setbacks along the way. Today, I want to walk you through each of these steps and explain what you can expect. Our filling of the feeder main is the first step. Right now, we have 4.5 kilometer section of pipe that is empty. So the first step is to refill it. We will do this by opening valves and starting the flow of water from the Bears Paw Water Treatment Plant into the pipe. It will take approximately 14 million liters of water to refill the feeder main. We will start this work as early as Wednesday night or Thursday morning. And if all goes well, it will take about a day or 2 to complete. During this filling stage, the pipe will experience an increase in pressure, which increases the risk of stress and potential further breaks. This is not just a risk that this feeder main, but it's a typical risk for any pipe that's being filled. We're managing this risk by filling the pipe carefully and using acoustic monitors to listen for pings that could indicate further wire breaks. We're also using sensors that will detect pressure spikes. With these measures in place, we feel that the risk of additional breaks during the stage is low, but if they occur, they could set back our progress. Once the feeder main is refilled, we will begin the flushing phase. During the flushing process, we clean the feeder main by pushing treated water through the system. The intent is to fully replace the water in the feeder main to make sure it's clean. The flush water will exit through valves and fire hydrant with hoses that will run through part of Edworthy Park and into the river. The water will be dechlorinated before it enters the river. To enable this process, a section of the north side of Edworthy Park and the North Edworthy parking lot will be closed and adjacent pathways will be temporarily detoured. While we do the flushing, people will be able to see this water flowing, and it might look as if we're wasting water. Please know that this process is a critical part of making sure our water is safe to drink. If all goes well, the flushing process will take 1 day. There is a risk of more breaks at this stage. This risk increases when we stop flushing, and there will be another pressure change in the system. We will be monitoring very carefully for any changes or potential new breaks during this time. Once the flushing is complete, we need to ensure that the water in the feeder main is clean and safe. To do this, we work with Alberta Health Services and Environment and Protected Areas on water testing. We will take samples of water in the pipe, and they will be sent to the lab for testing. Microbiology analysis requires 18 to 20 hours to observe any information on bacteria that could be harmful to the public. Water quality parameters must meet or exceed our water quality guidelines. All results are shared and reviewed by Alberta Health Services and Environment and Protected Areas. If the results show the water is safe, we can move to the next stage. If the results show any issues with water quality, we will need to flush the line again and do additional testing, which will take an additional 24 hours to complete. Once the water meets or exceeds all safety and regulatory requirements, we will start flowing water from the feeder main through the rest of our system. This step involves turning on pumps at the Bears Paw Water Treatment Plant, which will increase pressure in the feeder main and start water flowing through our network. Stabilizing the system will take about 3 to 5 days. This stage has the highest level of risk. Each time pressure changes are introduced into the feeder main or other feeder mains within the system, whether from filling, flushing, or adding additional pumping capacity, pipe connections and pipe walls experience additional stress. We will be carefully monitoring the performance of our system during the stage and making necessary adjustments. I know that everyone is very keen to know when we'll ease water use restrictions. We are actively working on what this will look like, but we expect that it will happen in stages as the system stabilizes during that stabilization step. As we move through the steps, we'll have more details on timing, and we will come back with updates on our progress. At this point in time, I'll ask Mayor Gondek to the stage.
Thank you very much, Director Bouchard. I, too, would like to thank everyone who's been observing the fire ban as well as the outdoor water restrictions and everything that you've been doing inside your homes and businesses. I know we've asked you to do a lot, and you've absolutely delivered. As a good example of everyone doing their part, I hear that there's a star-studded lineup coming to the CPKC Women's Open next month, and that ahead of that LPGA stop, the folks at the Earl Grey Golf Club are doing their part in trucking in non-potable water to maintain their course. We really appreciate their leadership in this regard. It's also wonderful to hear that non-potable water has been in high demand at the 6 depots that have been opened up and accessible to citizens throughout Calgary. Those 6 locations are available to you at calgary.ca if you need some non-potable water for your garden, for your plants, and for your flowers. Tomorrow morning at 8:30 via live stream, I'll make sure that we have more information on the progress towards backfilling. And when we come back here tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock at the Emergency Operations Center, we'll have more updates for you on how the filling, flushing, and testing and stabilizing process is going. I'll now pass this over to Sherry to field any questions from the media.
Thank you. Adam, Global News.
I guess first question on the timeline there. Does this then take us to that July 5th date? Is that the water restoration date just based on the next 4 steps? Is that kind of
I think it's important to remember that the date that was offered when we first entered into this stage of doing the hotspot repair and understanding that there would need to be some time built in for the filling and flushing and testing and stabilizing, that date is still a good guideline. But what we've heard from the team today is that it's possible, if things go according to plan, that we might see an earlier timeline. It's hard to say. Again, stay tuned for the updates that we provide. We'll let you know regularly how those 4 stages are going in getting our system back up to regular flow.
We heard a date for street sweeping to, like the tentative date, I guess, for street sweeping to resume, that July 8th. But of course, a lot of folks curious about recreation centers, splash parks, all that kind of stuff that's out there as, you know, the weather gets quite hot in July. So any conversations or any kind of tentative dates at this point for the reopening of those services?
Lots of conversation and lots of work is occurring at the Emergency Operations Center with all of our partners to, now that we know the timeline, the rough timeline that we're working for filling and flushing this pipe, we can now work on exactly that and take all of the services that have been impacted by this and figure out how to bring them into service as fast as possible once it is safe to do so. So that work will continue, and we'll have more information on dates for you in the coming days.
Radio Canada. Question?
Do you have the numbers?
I think, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, we wanted to know the numbers regarding the water usage, the water that was taken from the filling station, but just for the citizen, not for the construction people.
So the citizens up to date as of 9 o'clock this morning have taken just over 31,000 liters from the 6 stations across the city.
Thanks very much. Sean.
Sean Bolzer, Western Standard. You were mentioning in your initial inspections that you drafted a series of contingencies if there's more problems that arise. Are these general contingencies? Are they specific contingencies? What kinds of things would we be looking at, say, if things go sideways?
So last week I explained as we were looking at one of the locations that had the thrust block that we couldn't replace the pipe and we had to repair it in place. And so we've developed a number of plans similar to that, repairing pipe in place. We do have additional parts that we have in Calgary now, should there be an issue that arises. And we've looked at a number of other plans going down the road. Again, we hope that we don't need to use those plans. We hope everything goes well, but we're planning for the worst as we work through this process right now.
Okay. And when we're talking about a date, July 5th, that seems to be the best case scenario. What would be the worst case scenario to get everything back up and running?
Again, we talked originally about 3 to 5 weeks. We've said that we're on the lower end of that. And as you've just heard, if things go well, we may be ahead of that schedule. If things don't go well, it may take longer. And we're not sure what that would look like because we're not sure what potentially could happen. We've developed a number of plans and we will have to wait and see as we start to slowly and cautiously refill the pipe and slowly bring it back up to pressure.
Thanks very much.
The irrigation companies have been asked to help us, stop working, right? So, and they did. A lot of them are reporting 80 to 100% drop in business in the busiest time of the year. Is there any consideration for compensation?
At this time, the city is not considering any financial compensation.
And the same for the businesses along 16th Avenue. They're reporting their businesses are down 70%. Is there any consideration there as well?
We're encouraging Calgarians, especially as the roads are scheduled to hopefully reopen with the paving operations. Now is the time when we get them open to go into Montgomery and into Bowness and support the local businesses. At this time, we are not considering any financial compensation.
City News?
What are some of the procedures if community members want these water angels to bring some water to them? How can the people communicate that, hey, I need some water?
This is really a grassroots initiative to make sure that community members have water, that need water for outdoor use. I would encourage you to check on your neighbors. Go check on that neighbor that you know that's down the street that might be a little bit older or maybe doesn't have a car, and work together as a community. And it's a great chance to meet your neighbors if you haven't had the chance to do that. And it's really about the community coming together to help each other.
Will the city be recognizing water angels?
We would love to hear the stories about the different water angels that have been helping their community members around the city. Those are fantastic stories that are really inspiring for all of us to get out there and make a difference in our community.
Thanks. Sid?
Sidney Bizarre with Rebel News. For the Mayor, Mayor Gondek, yesterday in relation to the fire, you said, quote, what would have happened if those hoses had run dry in the middle of that firefighting mission? Fortunately, that didn't happen, and it's due to your small sacrifices, end quote, in relation to Calgarians' water use. This also wouldn't be a concern if we had working infrastructure to begin with. Instead of praising Calgarians for helping them ease this disaster, will you take any accountability for leading us into a crisis?
At the moment, we are in a situation where we have had a feeder main break, and that impacted the entire city. There is an independent incident review that is being planned. There will be independent third-party professionals on that panel looking at what happened, why it happened, and how we can ensure it doesn't happen again. Now is the time to pull together as a community. It's also the time for our city crews to be working with private sector contractors and experts to get the repair work done. And it's the time that we need to be working with Alberta Health Services and the provincial government to ensure that the water we're flowing in the pipes is safe for consumption. That's what we need to be focused on right now. And I think it's important to recognize the community for coming together at a time like this when it was critical to reduce our water use. I think that's important. Accountability is absolutely the job of council, and we are doing the things we need to look at what happened in this case and ensure it doesn't happen again.
And my follow-up question, if the acoustic monitoring failed once, why are we continuing to use that method?
I'm going to turn to General Manager Thompson on that.
Thank you. So as I've mentioned, we installed acoustical monitoring on this pipe in the spring. We hadn't had it on the pipe previously. If you go to calgary.ca, we actually have some information about a couple of different types of acoustical monitoring. One are some noise sensors, and the other is a fiber optic line. And as we bring this pipe back into service, we'll be installing that fiber optic line through this pipe. so that we can really monitor its health as we go forward. Again, you can go to calgary.ca to find out information, facts and answers on any of those technical questions, and we continue to update that as we bring more information. Thank you.
Thank you. City News. I'm not sure what your name is, sir, but Francois. Francois. May I ask you a question, Mr. Francois? In regards to your environmental procedures, and you were going to be examining the water for human consumption, are you also testing the water for when it goes into the river, that it's safe for all the habitats?
Absolutely. And a big part of that is dechlorinating the water. So we will have dechlorination pucks that will be at the end of the hoses that discharge into the river to dechlorinate the water.
Great. Okay. Final questions. CBC.
Yeah, François Michel, do you speak French?
I do, but just conversationally. So
Do a clip in French to explain to us just like the shock, what happened, what could happen. En français.
probably not. I'm sorry.
All right, folks. That's it. We're at time. Mayor Gondek, would you like to close?
Every day that we bring you updates, we make sure we thank the crews that have worked on this project. We make sure we thank the folks within the Emergency Operations Center for everything they've been doing, the folks throughout the city of Calgary who've pulled together to make sure that we could get water restored to all of you. And I ensure that I thank you for your efforts. I think it's important to do that because we have asked you to do a lot and you have delivered. You've been cutting down your water usage between 20 and 25%, and I think it's important to recognize those contributions. I think this shows the strength of Calgary and our region as a place where people care about each other. And I think it's important to care about each other right now at a time when we are facing something that was unexpected and catastrophic. So I will continue to tell you how much you are valued, that we see the things you are doing, and we appreciate you. Thanks.
See you back here too. Today's press release will include the slides that you saw.